And now KVHC presents Hill Country Lawyer. If you've got legal issues, call Doyle Weaver, the Hill Country Lawyer, 792-5842. And now your host for the Hill Country Lawyer, Doyle Weaver.
Welcome to Hill Country Lawyer. I'm Doyle Weaver, and today I have with me a special guest. His name is Scott Gross, and he's running for City Council in Kerrville in Place 3. Morning, Scott, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you.
Okay. And there are probably a lot of people out here watching the program that don't know who you are, so why don't you just kind of tell the audience who you are and where you're from?
Well, I live in Comanche Trace. I've been in the neighborhood for about 25 years or so. We originally brought Church's Chicken here back in the 80s, I suppose, and ran Sporty's for a while. And I've been on city council now for 2 terms. I'm running for my 3rd term.
Okay. So you're the incumbent city council in Place 3?
I'm the incumbent. That means target.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Latin for target.
And you have some competition this year. Who's your competition?
I think half the town is running.
Okay.
We've got Leslie Modisette and Robert Keeble.
Okay. And as far as the city council goes this year, what do you think are the biggest issues generally?
You know, this is like a buffet. There are so many big issues, but if I had to pick the top 2 or 3, I'm not even sure I could put them in order. But of course, one of them has to be infrastructure. They have in the past, as people are wont to do, pushed some things back, delayed some things. We haven't done some things that we needed to do. And now infrastructure is a real critical issue. That's the bad news. The good news is your council has it handled. We've got a super plan. We've been working the plan now for, I guess we're in a couple or 3 years we've been into it. It's a long-term project. We're looking 20 years out, and you're in good shape, believe it or not. Roads and streets are, of course, and drainage is, of course, everybody's hot button. And what we've done lately, and I don't want to say we've done this because it's really our staff that did it. We have a wonderful city staff. They are super professional and very customer service oriented. They went out and bought used road equipment, 5 and 10 cents on the dollar, and brought a lot of the street maintenance in-house. So we're getting 2 and 3 times more streets for our dollar. And if you like traffic, you're going to love Kerrville because we're just working on everything.
When you say we like traffic, you mean we're going to have more traffic because there's going to be construction going
Yeah,
on?
lots of construction going.
Okay.
And one of my other projects, one of my focuses for the next term is recruiting of medical professionals. Very, very important to us. We have 3 times more retired people in Kerrville than per capita than you do anywhere else in Texas, than the Texas average is probably more accurate. And we need doctors and their support staff, and we're woefully short already. And when we reorganized the KEDF, Economic Development Foundation, we really got a good look at what was going on and know that that's a serious problem. So infrastructure and medical professionals.
So when you say reorganizes, is that where we cut down the number of directors on the board?
Yeah, that was the strangest thing. I had no idea until we looked at it. I thought, oh my gosh, had 40 directors, 40, and one guy. I mean, talk about working for the city where you got one guy with a shovel and 3 guys standing. That's just, everybody likes to talk about that. By the way, there is a reason why you got 3 guys standing. Actually, there's some OSHA rules that require somebody called a watcher or something. He has to watch for traffic. I guess he stands out of the way and yells in case you're in trouble. But it's a strange thing. But they had 40 board members. One guy, literally one guy, Guy Overby, and Guy had to go out and hustle money to pay his own salary and expenses and try to do economic development. That's just insane. And we asked them to reorganize, and they did, and it's a much better situation. We're looking at it again in, I think, 120 days just to make sure that things are going the way they need to go.
Okay, and you mentioned recruiting more medical staff for this area. How does the council go about doing that? Is just through the economic board?
Now, this is a real toughie, and the reason it's a toughie is because we have no legal relationships with the hospital, for example, and they're the big dog on the porch when it comes to healthcare. So we'll have to do some bully pulpit kind of thing, and we may put some economic incentives together, and there are even some building code and zoning issues that might help attract more medical professionals. So it's a complicated issue.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll pick up the conversation with our special guest, Scott Gross, in just a minute. Welcome back to Hill Country Lawyer. I am Doyle Weaver, and I'm here with our special guest, Scott Gross, who is the incumbent candidate for Place 3 in Kerrville City Council. And Scott, we opened up the program. We were talking about some of the economic development the council is doing for the city of Kerrville. But I've got a question. We all know that there's I guess, economic problems out there in the nation. National problems here economically, and I don't know if that's affecting the city revenues or
big
not.
time.
Big time.
Yeah.
Is that because, but I understand that 70% of the base of tax base is really related to property taxes, and only 30% is related to sales taxes. Is that correct?
No, the 70-30.
It's commercial.
It's commercial versus residential, and really under ideal circumstances it would be the other way around.
Right.
And it's not that way because of this big retired population we have. So it's sort of our blessing and our curse at the same time.
Right.
Unfortunately, when you go out to recruit businesses to come to your city, there's a lot of issues. One issue is it the kind of business that you want? And two, do they want to come? And do we have the infrastructure to support them? And there are just a ton of issues. But how do we go about recruiting people? We give them tax breaks. So that makes no sense. It's a catch-22 kind of a thing.
Right. Well, I think I read in the paper today, or heard somewhere, I'm not really sure where I got this information, but I believe it's true, that the city of Los Angeles has just cut back 2 days out of their
Going
workforce.
bankrupt, be out of cash totally in about May, I think.
May,
yeah, absolutely.
Is something similar to that
No.
likely to happen in Kerrville?
No, I don't think so. For a number of reasons. First of all, your city council has been very responsible with your money. The challengers to my position talk about we're going to cut out waste and fraud and mismanagement. Well, we are all reformers when we start on council. I thought, man, I'll go in and clean that sucker up. Well, when you look from the inside, you find out we got a very professional staff. Find out that business people just like yourself have been on the council before you, and there just isn't a lot of waste and such. You can go looking if you want, but it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when we passed this year's budget, I asked each and every council member, including the wife of my incumbent, or my opponent, I said, is there anything in this budget that you see that's wasteful, frivolous, or unnecessary? And each and every one said no, they did not. So even the reformers among us agreed that we're doing a good job and doing as much as we can.
Right.
Now we're down about 12% in sales tax, and that's critical. And we have eaten into our seed potatoes a little bit. We can probably go on at current service levels for this year and next year, but if the economy doesn't turn, we're going to see reductions in service. It's just,
It's inevitable.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the city council has at least thought about this, that the economy may not turn around?
Thought about it. Oh my gosh, we've thought about it and planned for it and done all kinds of things. Well, the idea of bringing the road work in-house to save a lot of money, that's part and parcel of it. We have a segment on our agenda every month where we get the latest economic updates. I, of course, follow it for my own business reasons on a regular basis, but once a month we hear from finance where we are, where we're going. We cut $964 and change out of the budget this next 12 months. And that wasn't frivolous, unnecessary, wasteful stuff. It was stuff that we really need to spend on. But we delayed some construction, some projects, and we took a little bit out of the street maintenance. We're paying attention to your tax dollars. They're also my tax dollars. I pay taxes too.
Right. Does the city of Kerrville get any money from the state of Texas or the federal government at any source?
I waited for that stimulus money. I kept thinking, this is going to be really cool, and I probably spent that. It's like when you buy a lotto ticket. You dream all night about, if we win this, what are we going to buy?
Right.
And I'm thinking, boy, I'll get the river trail in my library and a few other my pet projects, and I haven't seen it yet. So no, we don't really get anything.
So we're not really, well, at least we haven't built up a dependency on the state or federal government, I guess. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it would be fair to say. And it's also true that we get a lot of people, being Kerrville, we get a lot of people from out of state come here and say, these property taxes are too high. And I ask them to show me their state income return. Well, they don't have one, and they forget about that.
Right. Well, that's true. But what if the income taxes for the state of Texas, whether it's an income tax or a sales tax or the federal government income tax, what if those taxes go up? How do you see that negatively affecting the taxpayers in Kerr County or Kerrville?
I think that just says it all right there. You got to pay more taxes. You're not going to be happy. I wouldn't be happy. And that's, I think, long term for our economy, and I'm not an economist, I'm just a city council guy. Long term, I think if you take that money out of the freedom to spend it the way you want to spend it, I think long term that's bad on our economy. We're kind of slipping to socialism, and that's probably for somebody smarter than me to discuss.
Okay. Well, let's take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Scott Gross, place 3 candidate or incumbent of Kerrville City Council. We'll be back. Welcome back to Hill Country Lawyer. I am Doyle Weaver, and we're here with our special guest, Scott Gross, who's place 3 incumbent candidate for the Kerrville City Council. And Scott, we've been talking about what the council does and some of the economic development here in Kerrville. And I think one of the questions I think that came up in the forum y'all had last night with most of the candidates had something to do with possibility that K-Pub, or somebody recommended K-Pub buy up the city utilities. How does it, tell me what story.
Actually, people have been thinking about that for a long time. Originally, we owned it. I mean, we ran it, and then we separated it and got another board, and it's got a long history. And we made that board independent, almost, well, very independent. I will say that. And a lot of times, many times, people have said, "Well, we'll put the utilities all in one pot." And I think it probably makes more sense for the city to absorb K-Pub than the other way around. And one of the reasons why that's important is because you want to have officials that are directly elected by the people in control of how the town develops. And the way you control development is with water. So where we extend water, you can send electricity can go anywhere, but water and sewer are a little bit different animal. And so you want those utilities under the direct rule of people that you elect every 2 years. So if I were going to do it, I mean, not that they made me king or God or anything, but if it were up to me, I would probably do it the other way around.
So you wouldn't be in favor of consolidating the utilities?
You know, this just aggravates people. It's just something about me that just they don't like, and what they don't like is that I tend not to give an answer until I have all the facts. So I will say with the facts I have right now, I wouldn't be in favor of it, but I could always be convinced.
Now, K-Pub is that a cooperative, or how?
No, it's a regular bona fide utility.
Okay, so it's for-profit utility. Is that?
We don't like to make a profit, but
Okay. And
but
so
they can make a profit.
But they can.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Let's go back to the Economic Development Board again, because I just want to make it clear how the Economic Development Board is structured, or is it part of the City Council? Is it a separate entity, or how does that work?
You know, that's one of those golden rule things. He who has the gold makes the rules,
Right.
and it's a separate foundation, but the city funds the majority of it, and so in the past, essentially, they really weren't accountable to us. We just gave them a lot of money and hope they did a good job, and it's such an important issue that we really said we can't afford to not get this exactly right. So we threatened to bring it all in-house and just fund it ourselves and be in control of it. And then you had 40 really your better citizens in town, your doers and movers and shakers, and saying, no, let's do it a different way. We'll make it right. So we went from 40 members on the board. I think it's down to 9. Still a little bit awkward, but we'll see how it works out.
And so the City Council would be the ones who appoint the board members?
Yes. Probably not appoint them, but ratifies them or confirms
elect
them or
them or
whatever they
whatever.
call it.
Right. And so you just sort of like filling a job position. So somebody submits an application.
Yes.
And then
And we do that for all our boards and commissions too.
Okay.
And if you're out there and you're interested in helping your city grow and prosper, we've got lots of commissions and boards, and put your application in.
Well, that's a good point. And who would they call? Is there
Go down to the city secretary, walk in the front door, fat, dumb, and happy, and hang a right, and they'll take care of you.
Okay, so if you're interested in participating in your community, there might be some board positions open or coming open in the future. We encourage you to go down to the city hall and find somebody who can tell you how you can make your application, or how you can put your name in the hat to make a contribution to your city and participate and become part of what's going on. That's the American process, and we certainly applaud that here in Kerrville, Texas, just like we do anywhere else. So let's take another break real quick, and then when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Welcome back to Hill Country Lawyer. I am Doyle Weaver, and we're here with our special guest today, Scott Gross, who is the place 3 incumbent candidate for the Kerrville City Council. And Scott, I understand that several of the candidates for City Council in several places were at the forum last night.
Tuesday night, yeah.
Tuesday night, and I think that was over at Comanche Trace.
It was.
Okay. Anything interesting going on there?
Oh,
What was
gee,
the hot
I
topic?
can't think of anything interesting at all. You introduced me to this segment, your special guest. I was not very special Tuesday night.
Okay.
I was a little bit out of character, not in control at Parkinson, and nothing was working. Actually, a lot of things are working, and you know, sometimes my face and my face isn't connected to my brain.
Right.
Sometimes I don't have the expression that's really appropriate. Like right now, I'm laughing my butt off. See? No, actually, I'm really angry. I'm very upset. My opponent, the ethics of this campaign are worse than they were last time. When Mrs. Keeble ran, she had an ad that said, "Wouldn't you like to live in a town?" Now, you're an attorney. Wouldn't you like to live in a town where votes were not exchanged for personal favors?
Right.
Now, what does that say to you?
Well, it says
That you do live in a town where that's happening. And if you know about that, don't you have an ethical, moral, or legal obligation to
report it.
Report it?
Yeah.
Of course you do. And when I asked, the response was, "Well, I don't have any direct evidence." Well, then shut up. You know, and we've got ads that go out and with people listed as supporters who are not supporters. There's this one just ticks me off big time. It says monument to waste. Now he's running for a seat on city council. City council. His picture says monument to waste. What's he implying? City council is wasting this money.
Right.
It's a TxDOT project. So you know, either he doesn't know and he should know, or he does know and he shouldn't say. I mean, we made money on this puppy.
Yeah, just so people know.
We sold right away to TxDOT, and we made over $100,000 on that.
Was this in the newspaper?
Yes.
Okay. So this was an insert in the newspaper, or was the actual page of the
It
newspaper?
was actually an insert.
Insert out of the newspaper.
And I had people on this list call me and say, "Scott, I'm so sorry. I don't know who this guy is."
Okay.
And it just frosts me. You know, being on city council is not the job of the year. It's interesting and it's fun. People assume that you're a crook because you're elected.
You're a politician. Yeah.
You know, and they assume that you're. But if you're going to reform, let's reform. If you're going to reform, let's do it fair. Let's not do it with gossip and innuendo. And Tuesday night he accused me of selling out to big interests. And if I did, I just want to know, where do I get the check? Because I haven't seen that.
Right.
And he accused me of attending parties at General Shellhaze's house, where the city secretary had to leave for some reason. I don't know what that's about. I've been to Shellhaze's house once for a fundraiser. That's legal. And I went over there once to recover one of my signs that blew away. I don't think that's a party. And if they're having the parties, why didn't they invite me? Is it something I said? I mean, I'm just getting frosted over that. If my kid did this or my grandkids did this, they'd be in big time trouble.
Right. Well, let me ask you, isn't there another forum coming up for this?
I believe it's on the
council debate?
20th. It's at Schreiner College in the Callow meeting room or ballroom at 5:30.
And this is the one by the Chamber?
The Chamber, Women's Republican Club, and somebody else, I forget who it is, but we'll all be there.
And so this is open to the public, so anybody who wants to come can come. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think if I understood it right, the forum we had out at Comanche Trace was closed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Well, I think we're getting really close down to the minute here where we're going to have to close, but just the forum that is coming up is on, again, what date?
On the 20th
20th
of April.
April.
And early voting starts on the 26th of April, so
Okay.
vote early and vote often and vote Scott Gross. And the forum is actually at 5:30, I think 5:30 to 7 on the 20th.
Okay. For all of you folks who are interested in the forum, if you get any other questions, you can call the TV station. They can probably update you those dates and times. If you missed them, be sure to attend the forum, and let's vote. Let's vote this time, May 8th. Or is it
May 8th is the final day.
Final day. So that's it for the Hill Country Lawyer, and thank you for being here, and thank you, Scott, for being here on the show.
My pleasure.
Okay.